From athletes to authors, entertainers to innovators, we connect with those who help shape our culture. Join us in revealing stories of their lives and backgrounds, their triumphs and tragedies that molded them into who they are today. Authentically off-script and personally illuminating, this is Audibles with Jason Scarborough. Coming up next on Audibles, Robert St.John.
So how would you describe your family growing up?
You know, my dad died when I was 6, and my mom raised my brother and me up as on an art teacher's salary. I grew up about 4 blocks that way, and I currently live about 8 blocks that way. So that, you know, I grew up here. This is my neighborhood. This is the neighborhood I grew up in, riding my bike around, and went to elementary school here, and really had an awesome childhood. Even without a dad, you know, it was kind of one of those it takes a village things where my parents and a bunch of their friends had bought lots in this neighborhood right over here, and so I grew up with my dad's friends were all across the street, and so really had a blessed childhood.
What were your interests as a child? Obviously, cooking became a big part of your life later on, but
music has always been a huge love of mine, and football. You know, we played football every day, no matter where it was raining or not. It was just kind of that neighborhood thing. And then food, obviously. And my grandmother on my father's side was a huge influence on me, and she lived here, and we spent every Sunday at her house after church with big formal lunches. And she was a great cook. She was a great hostess. It was very effortless, and you know, I would just sit on the stool in her kitchen and watch her cook. I never really had any interest in cooking. All my interest was in eating, and so you know, I had a charmed life in that aspect too, I guess.
Do you remember how early it was that you started cooking, experimenting with cooking, how early that was?
Yeah, in the first grade for Christmas, I asked for an easy bake oven for Christmas, which is, some people probably don't even know what that is today. It's a little plastic toy oven that cooks with a 100-watt light bulb. And I got that for Christmas, which wasn't a typical boy toy in 1967 or 8. And my brother kind of gave me a hard time about that, but he always did so with his mouth full of cakes or pizzas that came out of that little oven. And so, you know, I had a little bit of interest then, but nothing like career-wise. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I had to work. I started working when I was 12, mowing yards. I was a school janitor for a summer. And then when I was 15, I started, I was a disc jockey at a local radio station. And I worked 40 hours a week all through high school. I mean, if I was going to have any money to spend or buy a car or anything, I was going to have to earn it. And so I was a disc jockey. I did the 7 to midnight shift. Loved it. I had a blast. I didn't make a whole lot of money, but I had a whole lot of fun. And so when it came time to go to college, you know, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't really grow. I wasn't one of these kids that grew up and their dad was a lawyer and they wanted to be a lawyer or one of those kind of things. The world was kind of wide open, and to be honest with you, I had no clue. And so I just majored in communications because I had been working in radio. But I mainly just, you know, kind of wasted my time partying a lot and being irresponsible, and eventually flunked out of college pretty quickly. But
your granddad became a particularly an important person in your life at some point when you were young.
Yeah, that was my mom's dad, and her side of the family were all from Nashville, and he moved around a good bit. He was with AT&T. His last 10 years with that company were in Manhattan, up in New York. And when he retired, I think it was 1970, he moved back here to, I guess, help my mom. My dad had been dead a couple of years, and so he moved back here to help my mom, he and my grandmother, and was the primary male influence on me growing up. He was a great guy. Didn't have a college education, but he was so well read that he could have taught several different subjects. He was a big outdoorsman, hunted, fished, loved all that, and so I did that with him. He was a big influence, yeah.
You guys fished a lot. What were those times like?
We did. So after my dad died, my mom said, she had 2 boys. She couldn't play football. She didn't know how to hunt, but she figured she could learn how to fish. And so she bought a small fish camp down in Van Cleve, Mississippi, on the Pascagoula River. There was a group of old Hattiesburg families that had camps there a couple of generations back. And we had friends who still had camps there. And so we had a little fish camp there. It was off the water, and we spent summers there. It was the absolute best thing for me as a kid growing up. I learned how to ski there, learned how to fish there. Obviously, my grandfather was down there and friends down there, but my love of seafood really came from there. We put out crab traps in the morning and check them at night and boil crabs and pick crabs all night and fish. We had a little shrimp trawl that we'd put behind our boat, and we'd catch shrimp. And my first raw oyster was at Bearseb's on the Gulf Coast. So everything that, I think a lot of that comes through in what we do here in the restaurants now is we're very, very seafood oriented and go through a lot of seafood. And that's probably because she bought that fish camp and made a big difference in a couple of kids' lives.
Don't go anywhere. Audibles returns in a moment here on the Spirit Media Network.
During times of uncertainty, it's comforting to know we have a healthcare system in our community that's been committed to supporting us for well over a century. In this current time, we are standing together, and our bond is stronger than ever. KDMC, caring for our community like no one else can.
Hey sports fans, before traveling to your game day destination this football season, be sure to download the M.Traffic app to help you reach the game safely. With just the touch of a finger, you can see road conditions as well as receive traffic alerts along your route. You can even stay up to date with alerts based on your specific route to the game. The M.Traffic app is available free for both Apple and Android devices. For more information, follow at Mississippi DOT on Facebook and Twitter.
At Forest General Hospital, we have the playbook for helping patients every day, every season. Our team is here to ensure patients receive safe and reliable medical care. Our mission and game plan is to do what is best for our patients. Our lineup of skilled healthcare professionals, together with advanced technology and treatment options, set Forest General apart. We are here to help you make winning decisions when it comes to your health. For more information about our services, visit forestgeneral.com.
Serving clients in Mississippi and the Deep South, Warren Brothers Media provides endless solutions for you. From wedding videography, social media advertising and promotion, photography, video production, and much more, Zach and Zane Warren walk with you every step of the way to meet your individual need. Contact Warren Brothers Media to get started on your project today by logging on to warrenbrothersmedia.com. Warren Brothers Media. Brothers serving others.
Family owned and operated since 1986, Lakeside Molding has become the trusted source of architectural products throughout the South. They offer fine interior architectural moldings, custom millwork, and cabinet doors designed and handcrafted in Flowwood. Their showroom on Lakeland Drive is stocked with today's most sought-after interior details, including corbels, post, fireplace mantles, bath vanities, mirrors, and much more. Tim Shoemaker and his staff work closely to meet client needs for new construction, restoration, and remodeling projects. Lakeside Molding, where details make the difference.
I gotta ask this question.
Sure.
What was Robert St. John like in high school?
I was wild. I really, that's really, if you asked me to use one word, it was wild. And my brother was kind of the golden child. He was the older of the two, and he was very well behaved. I was not. Took me a little while to get my act together, which I did. When I was 21 years old, I got clean and sober, and have been clean and sober ever since. And but that period in between were some of my wilder days. But really, in retrospect, when I look back on that kind of thing, it was because I flunked out of college that I ended up getting in the restaurant business. I was at Mississippi State and really just kind of wandering aimlessly through life and didn't know what I wanted to do. As I said, majored in communications. Flunked out of college and came home, was pretty embarrassed, kind of tail tucked between my legs, and knew I was going to have to get a job. And there were two ladies who were opening up a delicatessen. It's actually right across the parking lot from where we are right now. They had never been in the restaurant business, didn't really know what they were doing, which is evident because they hired me as the manager of this delicatessen. And it was one of those things that just clicked instantly. From the first day of the first shift, as I remember it, I just fell in love with it. There was something about, the different people coming in and the stress of the moment, and, it was around food and we were serving people and everything just kind of came together, and it was like, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm supposed to do. And so I started a restaurant, Cock of the Walk, opened here. And so I started waiting tables at night, and it was like, this is what I wanted. I want to open up a restaurant. And so cleaned up my act, went back to college, got a degree in hospitality management, and opened up this first restaurant in 1987. So,
yeah, I read that when you got into the restaurant business, it wasn't you opened one restaurant, you opened two.
Yeah, this is how that went. It was really just based on how this building was constructed. I just wanted to open one white tablecloth restaurant to do fine dining here in Hattiesburg, and found this building, which was built as an old dress shop in 1975, and the dress shop had moved over to a corner of the building, and so there was a space where we could open that white tablecloth restaurant, and then there was just a void, a blank space with a door leading to outside there, and I kind of thought, just as insurance, just in case Hattiesburg isn't ready for fine dining, maybe I can open up a little po' boy shop with salads and pastas and po' boys. And that all came out of one kitchen and one line, which at the time I learned we didn't plan it. It was just a thing, we did to kind of cover our rears. But we learned that was kind of a novel idea at the time. Nobody was really running two restaurants out of one kitchen. That was in 1987. So December 27th, 1987, we had a soft opening, which in the restaurant business, you just open the doors. You don't advertise or market or anything. And I had hired a chef. I had been a waiter all through this very long and storied college career to put myself through college. I hired a lot of my friends who were also servers to join me in the restaurant. We brought a chef up from Destin, Florida. And this guy was legendary down there. He's legendary for two reasons. One, he was a great chef and everybody loved his food. But two, he was like a party animal. And I'm clean and sober for 4 years at this time. And so we brought this guy in, and I told him I put everything I owned on. I owned nothing. I was living rent-free in a garage apartment, and I sold a little piece of land my grandfather left me for $25,000. That was my stake in opening this, but it's everything I had. And I told this guy, whatever you do, you cannot drink. I'm risking everything on these. Oh, no. And he didn't. He developed the recipes, and, we trained the front of the house staff. We had a soft opening December 27th, 1987. It was packed. It wasn't kind of a trickle-in type thing. We were packed. And about 8 o'clock, I started noticing some hitches in the service and everything, and I went to the back, and this guy's nowhere to be found. So our chef, opening night, drank a case of beer out of the walk-in and a bottle of Dr. Tishner's from the gas station across the street. So we fired our chef opening night, which again seemed like one of the worst things that ever happened, and turned out to be a blessing because it forced me to get back in the kitchen. The extent of my cooking experience at that point, that I had asked for and received an Easy Bake Oven for Christmas. So I had no idea how to work in a commercial kitchen or how to develop a recipe or to prepare a recipe or to put out enough to seat, 75 people or whatever. And so there have been a lot of things in my life, I would say, that have looked like the worst thing that could happen at the time, turned out to be a blessing, and that was certainly one of them.
So you had to fire your chef opening night.
Yeah.
That's an early introduction into leadership 101, right? To have to do that.
Yeah, I think so. I'd like to take credit for that, but I was flying by the seat of my pants for the first probably 10 years. I made a lot of mistakes early on, and a lot of expensive mistakes, which are the ones you learn the most from. But you have to do what you have to do to stay in business, and I was willing to do whatever it took. I paid myself $12,000 a year the first 2 years we were open. Lived in that one room, garage apartment till I was 30 years old, and was happy. Had I had $12,000 a year, I would have paid somebody to let me own my own restaurant. It's just really what I wanted to do, and so it's really not work. I was actually just having lunch with my wife and daughter, and we were talking about. I'm almost 60, and I was saying, people, that's 5 years away from when most people retire. I said, I don't think I'm ever going to retire. I don't know what I would do. I don't fish. I don't really hunt much, and this is what I love to do. So I'm doing what I love to do. And I think somebody once said, if you love what you do for a living, and then it's really just like your hobby. It's not work. You're just doing your hobby and you're getting paid for it, and that's kind of how I feel about it.
When you got in the restaurant business, you just mentioned your wife. That's how you met your wife, right? It was about that time when you were getting into the business you met your wife. What was that time like?
So we opened in '87, and it was right at Christmas. And so we couldn't have a Christmas party for the staff. And that summer, I think it was in July, we had kind of a Christmas in July thing. And we went out to a lake here, and we got a band, and we got a barbecue, and did the whole thing. And she showed up with a friend of a manager, actually. And I saw her from across the room, and knew that I'm gonna ask her out, and did. But I was 26 years old at the time, and kind of went to that manager. It was a little bit of a fourth grade kind of move on me. I'm not the kind of guy that walked up to girls in bars and just asked them. That wasn't my thing, But I asked him. I said, I was fear of rejection, I guess. I said, do you think she'd go out with me if I asked? And he said, yeah. And he wrote a name on a piece of paper, and it was the initial J. Johnson. And I held it for a couple of weeks, and I waited one Sunday morning and thought, I'm gonna call this girl. But I couldn't remember if it was Julie or if it was Jill. And it was just the initial J, and I remember there had been a girl on the Pike calendar. Her name was Julie Johnson. I said, she was pretty enough to be on the Pike calendar. I bet that was her. So I called up, and this is obviously days way before cell phones, and she answered the phone. I think I woke her up at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning or something, and I said, is Julie there? And she said, there's no Julie here. And I went, oh. And I hung up, and I waited about 20 minutes and called back, and I said, is Jill there? And we dated for probably 2 months, and I think we were driving down to New Orleans one day, and I said, I got a confession to make. I said, you remember that first day we went out? She said, yeah. I said, I called you first, and I thought your name was Jill. She said, I knew that was you. I knew that was you the whole time. So, yeah.
Most people don't get a second chance like that when it goes that way, right?
Yeah. I was lucky. That was a lucky day for me, I think.
Don't go anywhere. Audibles returns in a moment here on the Spirit Media Network.
How local is Bank Plus? We're here, and here. And we're with you here, and here. Wherever, whenever you need us. We make our banking decisions right here because local means more than a location. It means a commitment to deliver more for our customers and our communities. Your bank, your plus. Bank Plus.
Hello, I'm Gary Jolly from the Tractor Store in Richland. Now's the best time of the year to save more with Mahindra, and it all starts with zero. Pay zero down and 0% interest up to 60 months. That's more for less on many of Mahindra's best-selling models, with tractors that deliver more lift, capacity, fuel efficiency, and built-in weight. So get zero down, 0% interest for up to 60 months on Mahindra, the world's #1 selling tractor, Mahindra, available at the Tractor Store in Richland.
From tablets to drones, even tractors with their own computers. As a farm family of Mississippi, we use the latest technology to get the most out of our land, growing acres of rice, soybeans, and corn. These digital tools help us map out where to plant and harvest. They manage our farmland from a bird's eye view and even tell us the right amount of water to use.
It's a smarter way to farm, providing for our family and yours, the farm families of Mississippi.
I can totally see us cooking in this kitchen.
I can totally see us cooking like pros with natural gas.
Oh, I would love to soak in that tub.
I'd love to save energy and money with a natural gas water heater.
I can imagine cuddling up in here.
Because natural gas heating keeps the house comfortable when we need it.
We have to get this house.
We have to get natural gas.
We're investing in infrastructure to help bring comfort and savings to you. Visit centerpointenergy.com/natural gas benefits. CenterPoint Energy, always there.
We hope you're enjoying Audibles with Jason Scarborough. Watch every full, unedited episode via our digital platforms. Download our free Roku TV channel simply by searching for Audibles on your Roku device. Look us up on our YouTube channel too under Spirit Media Network and hit subscribe. And enjoy episodes of Audibles along with our other original content. Bookmark our website at spiritmedianet.com and stay up to date on what's happening on the Spirit Media Network, where we're changing the game.
The COVID vaccines are here. Know the facts.
Get the shot.
End the pandemic.
The vaccines are proven safe and effective.
The vaccine does not contain COVID.
Nor will it give you COVID.
Side effects are relatively minor.
Arm pain, fatigue, and low-grade fever.
COVID-19 vaccine protects you
and those you love.
As healthcare workers,
we're setting the example
for our patients and our community.
This is your shot.
Schedule your COVID-19 vaccine today.
So you guys get married, you open another business, and then your daughter's born, and you mentioned that day as one of the two most monumental days of your life.
Unbelievable.
Why'd you frame it that way?
You know, it's a weird thing. I always wanted to be a dad. I mean, even as like I can remember being 14 or 15 years old, wanting to be a dad. And probably if I sat on a shrink's couch, they'd go back to it's because you didn't have one or some kind of thing, like whatever it is. I just always wanted to be a dad. But I was older. I was 36 years old when she was born. The good part of that is that my wife and I had met, and we were together 5 years before we were married, and then we were together 5 years before we had kids. So almost 10 years is pretty close to that. I mean, we had done absolutely everything we wanted to do together as a couple before kids, and so we were ready. And so when she was born, it's one of these things. I can remember this phenomenon happening while she was pregnant, and she was in about the sixth. She's obviously showing 6-7 months, and we'd be out, we'd be at a restaurant, we'd be at a party or something, and people would come up to us. This happened multiple times. And it was usually older people, and they would come up to you knowing that you were expecting, and they would kind of grab one of us by the arm and say, "It goes so fast." And they would say, "It goes so fast." And then sometimes that's all they would say. And then there's this look in their eye, and it's like, man. And so one night, you know, we kind of sat on the edge of the bed, and I said, you know, we need to take heed here. And I don't want to be sitting here at 65 or whatever saying it went too fast, and we blew the most important thing that I'll ever do, be a dad, and have this thing blow by me. And so we both kind of committed ourselves to parenthood at that time, and you know, it was good that we had, you know, done a lot before that and traveled a lot, and so I stopped working nights, which in the restaurant business is not very easy to do, but I was in a good place to be able to do that. And I'll really be honest with you, my son went to college 2 years and a half ago is really when I just started working nights again. He was born when I was 4 years later. And here's the crazy thing is it's going too fast. Even though I've milked every minute, I feel like we've done that thing. It's still going too fast, but you know, that's the way it is. I can remember at every age my wife saying, you know, they'd be 2 years old and she'd say, oh, she could just stay here. If he would just stay 4, you know, this big. And then a year later she'd go, if he'd just stay at this age. And finally, when they were mid-teens, and I told her, I said, you realize you've said this at every age? So every age was great. And we just, I hope we milked every minute of that. I've got a lot of job titles, you know, chef, author, restaurateur, TV thing, all this stuff. But the most important job title I'll ever have is being a dad. And I hope I took that seriously. And I had good stock to work with, and I certainly had a good partner to do that with. So.
It was during the time your daughter was born that you began writing these food and humor columns for numerous papers across the state, and now 2 decades later you're still doing it. Where does that motivation come from to continue doing that?
That's such a crazy thing, because almost everything that's come out of, even the restaurant thing came from an accident. I flunked out of college, I've fallen backwards into whether it's books, TV, all this stuff has just kind of, I guess I've been open to opportunity. And sometimes I hadn't even been open to opportunity. And that's an example. I started back, this is in the late 90s. I started getting a call from the Hattiesburg American, the local newspaper here. And they wanted me to start writing a food column for them. And I said no. And they'd call again, no, I didn't want to, and they'd call again. And I'd say, man, I've got too much going on. I'm up in these restaurants. My kids are just born. At the time, it was a labor for me to even write a letter to someone. And finally, my marketing director over there told me, and she said, you need to do this. So I said, okay, I'll do it. And I hadn't really written anything of substance. I was so, had such tunnel vision, so focused on restaurants that I had done, I showed a little penchant for it in high school maybe, but I was almost 40 years old at this point. And so I started writing this column, and it was really bad early on, but for some reason they stuck with me. And then after a while, I guess I developed a passion for it. And then the Clarion Ledger called, then the Sun Herald, then other newspapers started calling. They started carrying the column, and it just kind of grew from there. And that was over 2 decades ago. I'll write 1,000 words a week for the last 22 years. I've never missed a week, 52 weeks a year. I guess that's like 1,100,000 words or something. But I love it. And I think it's like anything else with anybody. And I think success follows passion. And then whatever I have a passion for the restaurant business, and all of those things. And I developed this passion for writing, and then a lot of stuff really sprung from that. It's just things in my career. It was a lot of luck. There's a lot of being in the right place at the right time. A ton of grace, and a ton of surrounding myself with people who are way more talented than I am, and kind of steering the ship a little bit and letting them do, kind of what they do. That's really all it is for me, to be honest with you.
When your son was born, things were going really well, but then I read that, then things went really, really bad. There was a period of, you guys went bankrupt, I read. And so that was a tough spot for it, but you bounced back. Most people don't bounce back from that. How did you keep yourself, stay grounded to bounce back like you did?
So I never declared bankruptcy. I've been on the verge of bankruptcy probably 3 or 4 times. And anybody, more than likely, you stay in the restaurant business long enough, is a brutal business, ups and downs. And I never declared bankruptcy, but I got really, really close 3 or 4 times. But you just persevere, and you take the attitude, I'm going to do what it takes. I'm going to push through. And I think the textbooks for the restaurant business will probably say, location, location, location. But the key in the restaurant business is management, management, management. And we have been blessed over the years to have great management in these places, and we've been able to grow. At the first of this pandemic, we had 6 restaurants and 2 bars. Now we're sitting here with 5 restaurants and 1 bar. But I think if you chart it from 87 to here we are in 2021, there are ups and downs and jags like that over the course, but there's a steady kind of uptick and incline in that graph to where we've grown not only as business people, but as co-workers and management team and just as people.
Don't go anywhere. Audibles returns in a moment here on the Spirit Media Network.
Hey sports fans, this football season, MDOT wants to ensure you get to your game day destination safely. So before you hit the road to watch your favorite team, be sure to download the MDOT Traffic app. The MDOT Traffic app is free for both Apple and Android devices. And remember to drive smart on the way to the game. That means buckling up, obeying the speed limit, and avoiding distracted driving, especially when traveling in work zones. For more information, follow at Mississippi DOT on Facebook and Twitter.
At Forest General Hospital, we have the playbook for helping patients every day, every season. Our team is here to ensure patients receive safe and reliable medical care. Our mission and game plan is to do what is best for our patients. Our lineup of skilled healthcare professionals, together with advanced technology and treatment options, set Forest General apart. We are here to help you make winning decisions when it comes to your health. For more information about our services, visit forestgeneral.com.
Hello, I'm Gary Jolly from the Tractor Store in Richland. Now's the best time of the year to save more with Mahindra, and it all starts with zero. Pay zero down and 0% interest up to 60 months. That's more for less on many of Mahindra's best-selling models, with tractors that deliver more lift, capacity, fuel efficiency, and built-in weight. So get zero down, 0% interest for up to 60 months on Mahindra, the world's #1 selling tractor, Mahindra, available at the Tractor Store in Richland.
Family owned and operated since 1986, Lakeside Molding has become the trusted source of architectural products throughout the South. They offer fine interior architectural moldings, custom millwork, and cabinet doors designed and handcrafted in Flowwood. Their showroom on Lakeland Drive is stocked with today's most sought-after interior details, including corbels, post, fireplace mantles, bath vanities, mirrors, and much more. Tim Shoemaker and his staff work closely to meet client needs for new construction, restoration, and remodeling projects. Lakeside Molding, where details make the difference.
The COVID vaccines are here.
Know the facts.
Get the shot.
End the pandemic.
The vaccines are proven safe
and effective.
Vaccine does not contain COVID.
Nor will it give you COVID. Side effects are relatively minor and include
arm pain, fatigue, and low-grade fever.
The COVID-19 vaccine protects you
and the ones you love.
As healthcare workers, we're setting the example for our patients
and community.
This is your shot. Schedule your COVID-19 vaccine today.
I read that you said, entering the 4th decade, you realized what was most important: faith, family, food, fun. Why do you think it was that decade where a light bulb went off? So why did you frame it that way?
You know, I probably just a little thick-headed and a little immature and just young, and really, I think being a parent and realizing what really matters, and it's something I call the 5 F's, in order: faith, family, friends, food, and fun. And faith, I mean, has always been a big part of my life, but I think I was a lot older before I realized that, you know, I went through a period, I don't want to get too philosophical or religious here, but I went through a weird period in my life. You know, I grew up a Methodist in a Methodist church. I'm still Methodist. And, you know, just with blind faith early on. And then I went through a period of some, you know, some doubt and some things like that. And I went through this period, I was trying to put a face to God. And it was a weird thing. And I knew it wasn't some guy with a white beard and a white cloud sitting on a gold throne. But a friend told me, and it was a revelational thing, he said, you know, if God was small enough for you to understand, God wouldn't be big enough to take care of the things that God takes care of. And that was a huge revelation to me. And I stopped trying to put a face to God at that point, and my faith got a lot stronger. And it was around that time that you're talking about. So faith, family, and you know, I was talking to you about the edge of the bed moment when we talked about, you know, recommitting, and that was a big part of it. Friends, my grandfather, who we talked about earlier, my maternal grandfather, he had 2 things he would say. He would say, you know, a rich man has his first dollar, a wealthy man has his first friend. And he would also say, you can judge a man's wealth not by the depth and not by the size. I mean, you can judge a man's wealth not by the size of his bank account, but by the depth and breadth of his friendships. And friends have always been a huge thing to me. And the older I get, the less material, because there's probably a big part of my life, I was a pretty materialistic person. I don't feel like I'm in any way materialistic these days. It's all about I'm a very relational person these days. So faith, family, friends, food, not just because I'm in the business and I love food, but if you think about food as a connector, food that brings people together. It's one of those things, if you think back to the best times in your life, I bet food had some, you were together with friends for a birthday party, or you were at your grandmother's house eating, fried chicken, or people were out celebrating. Food is that thing that brings us together. And the thing about, today, what's different, when we were growing up, my mom would come to the back door and yell supper. We'd go inside and eat supper. Today, when mom comes to the back door and yells supper, and everybody hops in the minivan, And I'm in the restaurant business, but still, it's not a good thing. We have gotten a little too used to driving through the drive-through window, grabbing a bag of food and going home, sitting in front of the TV and the TV tray and calling that supper. And it's just not, Supper is sitting around like it was when we were kids. And I'll tell you what, that's another thing. We had kind of one of these edge of the bed talks when the kids were young, and we got caught up in that. I'm kind of chief among the sinners. There's soccer, and there was football, and there was gymnastics, and we're going here and going there. And we weren't sitting down and enjoying a meal together, and we kind of said, you know what, we need to sit together and share a meal and have supper. And that's an important part of family dynamic. And we used to do this thing when the kids were younger, and we go around and talk about, our day, and what was the best part of your day. My wife would have some, my daughter did a thing at school, and my son maybe didn't get in trouble, whatever. Every time it came to me, when we talk about the best part of the day, no matter what had happened earlier that day, the best part of my day was sitting there with those three people and sharing a meal. And we've just kind of gotten away from that, and we had to get, so faith, family, friends, food. And here's the thing about fun. I told you earlier, I looked for fun in a lot of the wrong places for a long time. But the crazy thing is, it was there the whole time. What I learned is if you can pull 3 or 4 of those things together, faith, family, friends, and food, then the fun just happens. And that's how you create memories. I think back my grandmother that I was talking about earlier, and these meals after church at her house. It was all of those things put together. It was faith, it was after church, it was family, we're all around the table. Friends were always invited over. Food, you doggone right, it was a lot of food and it was great. And so you bring those 3 together, and then so I'm a 59-year-old man still talking about what it meant to me to share a meal at my grandmother's house after church, creating those kind of memories. So that's what those 5 F's are. It's just, it's a way I just started realizing what the priorities were in life, at least for me.
You started writing books at one point too. You became really good friends with White Waters, and you guys traveled across the globe. You traveled in a couple of countries abroad. Yeah. You wrote a couple of books together, and now you guys are besties. How did that happen?
Yeah, there's this lady named Frances Carnes who was a great customer of ours in this restaurant. God, she's an awesome lady. And she was here almost every day, and her husband Ray, and they would come in at night, and she was always trying to talk me, you ought to do this, Robert, you ought to do this, you'd always do this. And she got on a kick and said, Robert, you need to do a cookbook. You need to do a cookbook. And I'm too busy. Same thing with the column. I'm too busy, don't have time to do that. Next time I'd see her, Robert, you need to do a cookbook. This went on for weeks and weeks. And every time she'd say, you ought to do a cookbook, I don't have time. And then one day in the Purple Parrot, I remember like it was yesterday, table 3, she was sitting out there with a gentleman. She called me over to the table. Robert, sit down. This is so-and-so with this publishing company. Tell him about your cookbook. Well, yeah. So I didn't have and so I was trying to think quickly on my feet, and I said, well, if I were to do a cookbook, I would have recipes I developed at the restaurant here. I guess at the time we'd been open maybe 10 years or so. I said I would have stories like I do in my column about the South and growing up in the South, food in the South. And I said I'd have watercolors by White Waters. And the publisher said, well, without missing beat, said, if you get White Waters, you got a book deal. Well, the problem is I didn't know White Waters at the time. And so I just got in my car the next day and went and introduced myself to Wyatt at his gallery, which had just opened. And we hit it off. We probably talked about a book I had this idea for kind of a coffee table cookbook with his watercolors, and just like I pitched at the spur of the moment. And we probably talked about that for 10 minutes and then talked about the Beatles for the next 3 hours, and we just hit it off. And that book came out, and it was this huge thing that we never expected. And then I did a couple of books on my own, then we did another book, and And around 2011, I took my wife, my 2 kids, and we flew over to Sweden and bought a Volvo and spent the next 6 months in 17 countries and 72 cities, just touring all over Europe and 2 continents, dipped into Asia there for a minute. And Wyatt joined us while we were in Italy. And we had a book that came from that called An Italian Palate. It was our third. We've done 4 books. I've done 11 books, but 4 with Wyatt. And this was our 3rd book called An Italian Palate, and it was a blast. I mean, we covered from the southernmost tip of Sicily to the Alps. And while we're on book tour for that and going around just doing book signings and stuff, people started asking us, I'd love to go to that place I saw you paint in Italy, or that place you wrote, I'd love to eat at that restaurant you wrote about. I wish you'd take us to Italy. Why don't you take us to Italy? And at first you just think that's somebody making conversation while you sign their book or whatever. And kept hearing it. And I finally called Wyatt up and I said, man, I think people want us to take them to Italy. I said, you want to do this? He said, sure. So we figured we'd do that once. And so I made a Facebook post, and within like an afternoon, we filled up a group of 25 people that wanted to go with us to Italy to see all these kind of behind the scene places. But we got a waiting list, and then the waiting list got a waiting list. And so we started doing these tours and taking people over. And then the people we took to Tuscany said, where are we going next? And so we did Venice, Bologna, Milan, and then we did Rome, Amalfi, Naples. And at the same time, this TV show we do on public broadcasting, Palate to Palate, started, and just kind of all of that. It's just like I said earlier, everything's just kind of just happened. It's really been, I guess I've been open to opportunity for that, and just kind of doing what I like to do, and so we're still doing those tours. We had to cancel 7 of them for COVID, but we're ramping back up now, and that's a fun part of that I love doing.
Don't go anywhere. Audibles returns in a moment here on the Spirit Media Network.
Serving clients in Mississippi and the Deep South, Warren Brothers Media provides endless solutions for you. From wedding videography, social media advertising and promotion, photography, video production, and much more, Zach and Zane Warren walk with you every step of the way to meet your individual need. Contact Warren Brothers Media to get started on your project today by logging on to WarrenBrothersMedia.com. Warren Brothers Media. Brothers serving others.
Our favorite venues, watching our favorite teams while tailgating with the best fans in the South. We're all back to full capacity this fall. That's why now is the time to book your stay for your favorite college football weekend at Mississippi's premier full-service bed and breakfast. Kay Tyler and the staff at Cart Barn Inn will meet every expectation of you, your family, and your friends. Call and book your reservation today at 662-983-7829 or log on to cartbarninn.com. Cart Barn Inn, cozy luxury in a brown paper bag.
We hope you're enjoying Audibles with Jason Scarborough. Watch every full, unedited episode via our digital platforms. Download our free Roku TV channel simply by searching for Audibles on your Roku device. Look us up on our YouTube channel too under Spirit Media Network and hit subscribe. And enjoy episodes of Audibles along with our other original content. Bookmark our website at spiritmedianet.com and stay up to date on what's happening on the Spirit Media Network, where we're changing the game.
When it comes to cooking meals, drying clothes, heating water, and my home, nothing beats natural gas from CenterPoint Energy. It's my most affordable energy option. It costs less to use than electricity, propane, and heating oil. So if you already have natural gas, keep it. If you're replacing an appliance, choose it. Natural gas, your best choice. Safe and affordable, rest assured.
For more on the benefits of a natural gas home, visit centerpointenergy.com/natural gas benefits. CenterPoint Energy, always there.
During times of uncertainty, it's comforting to know we have a healthcare system in our community that's been committed to supporting us for well over a century. In this current time, we are standing together, and our bond is stronger than ever. KDMC, caring for our community like no one else can.
But you give back. That's what's interesting about your story is in 2009 you founded Extra Table. And I know that's near and dear to your heart. 20 tons of food delivered per year to mission pantries, nonprofits. Healthy food is what you're trying to do every year. That's a big undertaking, 20 tons of food. How did you...
It's actually about 30 tons a month now. Yeah, it started with, I got a phone call one day. Again, opportunity knocks, I guess. I got a phone call from a place called Edward Street Fellowship Center here in Hattiesburg. They were feeding about 700 families a month, and they were completely out of food. And they called and said, "Can you help us? We've got people coming in. We need food." And I said, "Sure." And I figured the quickest, easiest way to do that would be call my Cisco representative, the food service distributor, put together an order and just have the truck drop ship it to the agency, which we did. They got food to serve. And I started thinking at that time, well, maybe, if there were an easier way for this to happen, that, these places wouldn't run out of food. And that's where Extra Table was born. And so I approached Cisco at the time, said, "Look, I got this idea based on, what if every business and every home had an extra table where they could feed those in need? I want you guys to help me. I'll raise the money. You sell me food at wholesale and you deliver it." And they said, "We're in." But to be honest with you, I was a little skeptical there was even a hunger problem at all. I really, I kind of thought, well, this is America. I get some Central American country where people need to be fed, but surely not here. So I kind of went on a fact-finding tour by myself, and I learned pretty quickly into that tour there's a huge problem that Mississippi at the time was #1 in food insecurity. And so we started Extra Table and planted my flag on two things when we started. Is #1, every bit of money we raise for food will go to purchase food. There's not going to be any administrative costs or any of this kind of thing. #2, it's always going to be healthy food. Because Mississippi was #1 in food insecurity, but also #1 in obesity. And that's another thing I had a problem reconciling. But what I learned, those two always go hand in hand, because people that don't have enough money to lead a proper diet are basically living out of a convenience store, and the cheapest foods are the unhealthiest foods. And so it started there, and the thing has grown. It's been a very slow process, but it's huge now. I mean, I'll tell you, 2 years ago, for the year we shipped, I think it was 270,000 pounds of food in 2019. We shipped 280,000 pounds of food in January of this year. We started in one food pantry, and now we're in 50, I think, food pantries in a bunch of different counties. We cover the state. There's a lady named Martha Allen, who is a force of nature. She's the executive director of Extra Table. She, through this pandemic, just ramped up. She was really a staff of one. Now we have two. So 2 people run a statewide charity out of a borrowed corner of my office, and it's one of the most effective things out there. We have a whole separate charity that raises the minimal administrative costs so we can stay true to that mission that all the money we raise for food goes to food. And it's another one of those things. When I talked about career, this is kind of what I'm supposed to do. I think the restaurant business is what I was supposed to do career, but I think, and this is going to sound a little cheesy, but it's really honest to God how I feel. I think this is what I was kind of born to do. It seems like, and again, I know this sounds cheesy, but it seems like everything in my life to that point led up to this thing, this Extra Table being, what I'm really supposed to do as a citizen.
Now, you also founded Hattiesburg 100.
Yeah.
Why is that important to you, or why was it important for you to do that?
I had that idea. I had heard some people in Jackson had done this thing, and I'm not sure. Maybe it was called Jackson 100 or something like that. And so it's not an original idea on my part, but I thought it'd be a great idea. And what they were doing is they were meeting once a year. And they paid, a lot of times you're part of an organization, you pay dues, you go to a lot of meetings, you do a lot of stuff. And it was a very simple plan that they had. You paid, I think this is what we do. You pay $250 a year. $50 goes to a banquet, $200 goes into a fund at the community foundation that you hope you never have to use. And so once a year at this banquet we hold, Hattiesburg 100 holds, we bring in all the sworn officer agencies, a representative. So the Hattiesburg Police Department, Hattiesburg Fire Department, Lamar County Sheriff, Forest County Sheriff, Troop J, Highway Patrol that's here in Hattiesburg, anything that has to do with Hattiesburg, University of Southern Mississippi Police, Forest General Hospital Police. And the heads of those agencies come and they choose an officer, a sworn officer from the year who he wants or she wants to be recognized for meritorious service. So we honor them. We have their family. We have a steak dinner, and we honor them. We have a little thing we present, and it's a great night. And so we just do that. Hattiesburg lost a couple of officers several years back, and I'd had the idea to do this thing a couple of years before that, and just got busy and didn't get around to it. And then that happened, and I thought, you know what? If this was already in place, if I had taken action, this would already be in place, and we could use some of this money to help these families out. And that was kind of the impetus to say, you know what? You just go ahead and bite the bullet and do it. And a friend of mine, David Fortenberry, another friend, Michael Schemper, got with us, and it was kind of us three doing it for the first few years. And then we brought in a board, and now we have a board, and it's it's one of the best nights of my year is this night where we recognize sworn officers in this area.
Don't go anywhere. Audibles returns in a moment here on the Spirit Media Network.
Hey sports fans, before traveling to your game day destination this football season, be sure to download the M.Traffic app to help you reach the game safely. With just the touch of a finger, you can see road conditions as well as receive traffic alerts along your route. You can even stay up to date with alerts based on your specific route to the game. The M.Traffic app is available free for both Apple and Android devices. For more information, follow @Mississippi DOT on Facebook and Twitter.
At Forest General Hospital, we have the playbook for helping patients every day, every season. Our team is here to ensure patients receive safe and reliable medical care. Our mission and game plan is to do what is best for our patients. Our lineup of skilled healthcare professionals, together with advanced technology and treatment options, set Forest General apart. We are here to help you make winning decisions when it comes to your health. For more information about our services, visit forestgeneral.com.
Hello, I'm Gary Jolly from the Tractor Store in Richland. Now's the best time of the year to save more with Mahindra, and it all starts with zero. Pay zero down and 0% interest up to 60 months. That's more for less on many of Mahindra's best-selling models, with tractors that deliver more lift, capacity, fuel efficiency, and built-in weight. So get zero down, 0% interest for up to 60 months on Mahindra, the world's #1 selling tractor, Mahindra, available at the Tractor Store in Richland.
Family owned and operated since 1986, Lakeside Molding has become the trusted source of architectural products throughout the South. They offer fine interior architectural moldings, custom millwork, and cabinet doors designed and handcrafted in Flowwood. Their showroom on Lakeland Drive is stocked with today's most sought-after interior details, including corbels, post, fireplace mantles, bath vanities, mirrors, and much more. Tim Shoemaker and his staff work closely to meet client needs for new construction, restoration, and remodeling projects. Lakeside Molding, where details make the difference.
The COVID vaccines are here. Know the facts.
Get the shot. End the pandemic.
The vaccines are proven safe and effective.
The vaccine does not contain COVID.
Nor will it give you COVID.
Side effects are relatively minor.
Arm pain, fatigue, and low-grade fever.
COVID-19 vaccine protects you and those you love. As healthcare workers,
we're setting the example
for our patients and our community.
This is your shot.
Schedule your COVID-19 vaccine today.
I saw your button there, eat local, which kind of led me to my next question. I always try to shop local, eat local, partner with folks that are local if I can. Yeah. I'm big on that. Obviously, you're big on that. So in the restaurant business, it seems like every day there's a different chain restaurant popping up on every corner. Yeah. So as a restaurateur and a business owner. How have you taken on those challenges, and how do you deal with them every time there seems to be a wave of new pop-up restaurants, as I call them?
Yeah, I'll tell you where this came from, and I learned a hard lesson. I think it was about the 7th grade. My friend Forrest Roberts and his family were in the grocery business, and they invited me to go to the beach with them. And my mom wanted to send some food for the week, and they own sunflower stores here in town. And my mom, she was probably in a hurry, and so we went to the A&P grocery store, which is right here close, and loaded up a bag. And I went over there, and I wasn't even thinking about it. I'm in 7th grade, and I walk up with the A&P bag to their house. And I can remember, they didn't say it in front of me, but I overheard his parents talking about, we're taking this guy to the beach for a week, and they didn't even, go shopping, at our grocery store kind of thing. And I overheard that, and it really embarrassed me at the time. They never said a word. I mean, he was one of these guys. Doc Roberts was like a dad to me. But I learned a lesson in that, and that's, what, you shop with the people who are not only your friends, but the people who live locally. And the same goes with restaurants. When I'm traveling around the country, wherever I am, I always go to the lobby of the hotel in the morning and ask the front desk clerk, where's the local diner? I'm a big breakfast guy. I love breakfast. And I said, I want to go to the place where the old guys are talking politics and sports. And I want to go there because the food's going to be good, but also that's where I'm going to learn about whatever town or city I'm in. You don't learn anything from a chain restaurant that looks just like the next chain restaurant at the next interstate overpass and the next interstate overpass. I call it seed packet retail. It's all the same stores. It's like somebody flew over the interstate with the same retail seed packet, and that stuff pops up, and it has no character, doesn't tell you. I mean, they can maybe put pictures of the town up in there, but that corporate office is in Dallas or Chicago or New York or somewhere. It's the places that are locally owned that tell you about a community and that mean more in the community. And it's not just keeping the money in the community, which is important, but it's about the things that those places do to give back. And I didn't really like that term, give back. To give back, you have to receive something first. People should just give anyway. But those places aren't opening up. Hattiesburg, we're here 2021, February of 2021. Last year was a brutal year for the restaurant business, obviously, in 2020 and this COVID pandemic. And we probably had somewhere between 12 and 20 restaurant closings here in Hattiesburg. Not one of them were a fast food place or a chain restaurant. They were all independent restaurants. And, independent restaurants it's again, like I said, it's a brutal business, but, they don't have as access to capital like other restaurants and everything, but it's what makes the community. Nobody travels and flies into New Orleans for a convention to go eat at a chain restaurant. They go eat at the restaurants that make New Orleans what it is, the great independent restaurant city. It's all, when I go to New Orleans and we spend a lot of time there, I just take my eat local button off because that's obvious. They eat local. I mean, that's what they're about. And so it's just this thing that, this thing we should do to just support our community. And whether a lot of times in the restaurant, I'll kind of get in the middle of the dining room and ding a glass and thank everybody for being here and tell them thank you for keeping it local. And, if you come out to eat tomorrow night, we hope you'll choose one of our restaurants. But if you don't, we hope you'll choose another locally owned independent restaurant and support them because, they need your support now, more than ever.
So speaking of eating local, I mean, there's a lot of people that have enjoyed your restaurants. They're all popular. People enjoy them. Mm-hmm. You've seen the who's who in a lot of different walks of life come through your restaurants. Mm-hmm. Can you remember the first famous person to eat at one of your restaurants?
You know what? If I go back to like 88, I think spring of 88, there was a guy named Ed Bradley that was on 60 Minutes.
Yeah.
And we didn't take reservations at the time. Eventually, Purple Parrot started taking reservations, and the producers called and wanted to bring Ed Bradley in. And I thought, that'd be really cool, but we don't take reservations, and so we lost that one. But I remember thinking, we can't take a reservation for Ed Bradley, who's going to be here for an hour and a half one time in his entire life. And we have all these regular customers who are the bread and butter of this business, and this guy's going to walk in front of everybody and sit down, and nobody else gets to make a reservation. I wised up eventually and started taking reservations for everybody. But after that, there was a lady named Rita Moreno. I think she's still alive. She was in West Side Story. She was here to do a concert with the symphony orchestra. We have this amazing symphony at Southern Miss. I mean, I've walked across the street basically and seen Yo-Yo Ma, Itzhak Perlman, Ray Charles play with it's the oldest symphony in the state. But I think she was here singing with that symphony, and it was early days. It's probably 88, 89, something like that. And what I remember about that, unfortunately, is that she went to the ladies' room and then got locked in the stall and had to crawl out from under the stall, and so we didn't give her the best impression, I think, of it. Certainly our restaurant. Maybe she had if she played with the orchestra, she had a good impression of that, though. So yeah, there have been people over the years. It's hard we try to leave them alone and just not make a fuss and just feed them and let them have some peace and enjoy their dinner.
Is there somebody that's considered a famous person that's a repeat customer, maybe, like at present?
There's a local football player that's pretty well known that we see a lot of.
I'm trying to think of who you're talking about. Let me see if I can. Yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
And we even get people who come down from Wisconsin who just make this pilgrimage, and they want to see. But we're low key about everybody, so it just we don't leave people alone and let them enjoy their dinner. We're happy to have them here.
So you guys have been reviewed by all sorts of publications, outlets, media entities. I interrupted your interview the other day with Fox and Friends. Sorry about that, by the way. So what was the first one that reviewed you guys, or that you did an interview with, that you went, okay, that's pretty cool, that really got your attention? Is there one?
The thing that comes to mind when you bring that up is the Clarion Ledger state newspaper years ago had a column. It was a restaurant review column. It was called Epicurious, I think is what it was. And you didn't know who it was. You didn't know when they were coming in. And we opened, Purple Pear was here, and we had just opened our restaurant, Crescent City Grill, which is still over here. And we had been open about a week. And Wednesdays was the day of Epicurious, and you'd read, I loved it. I'd read all these restaurant reviews, and at the bottom of it would say next week in the restaurant that they had obviously already reviewed. And we were 1 week, maybe 2 weeks open. And I remember Wednesday morning getting the paper and reading the sports and going to the food and reading that, and it said next week Crescent City Grill. And I thought, God, they came like in the first week. And it really takes about 6 weeks to get a restaurant ramped up, and you should be ready on the first day. But you're they're all sorts. It's crazy for a while until you really work out the kinks. And it had been crazy. That was really the second restaurant opening I had ever done, and we had a hectic week or two. And I thought, oh man, this is going to be brutal, because sometimes this guy could be a guy, girl, I don't know who it was, could be really brutal. And it came out, and we got this just awesome glowing review. And that's the first thing that I ever remember in any kind of press, and it was statewide press, but it's still framed hanging over there somewhere, the review is. And so all the reviews haven't been great over the years, but for the most part, we've been on the plus side of that column.
So out of all the menus of all your restaurants, what is your favorite item?
I can give you my really favorite item. It would be a restaurant by restaurant thing, but my overall favorite item to really cook and put into recipes is probably crab meat. I love crab meat. I love shrimp. We go through we go through 16 tons of shrimp a year, 8 tons of fresh fish. I mean, we're a lot and that's just in this building here. So I would have to go restaurant by restaurant. I love the pizza we do at Tabella. The burgers at Ed's, we have killer hot dogs there that people don't know about, and milkshakes. That's what I like there. Crescent City Grill, we have a killer ribeye. We do good fresh fish. El Rayo, this new restaurant we've just opened up about 4 weeks ago, we do skirt steak for the fajitas. and it's awesome. And a lot of times you go to a Mexican restaurant and they've got, the fajitas are like this gray kind of twisted stew meat or something. And that's because they're using flap or flank. And we did a lot of research on this Tex-Mex stuff. Spent a lot of time in Texas in people's kitchens and interviewing people and talking to people. And the meat to use for fajitas is skirt steak. There's inside skirt and there's outside skirt. Inside skirt is good. Outside skirt is awesome. And so we take outside skirt, we age it for 30 days, and then we marinate it. And then we put it into a machine that's called a vacuum tumbler. And it's this machine, it looks like a little small clothes dryer kind of thing. You put the meat and the marinade in there, the steak and the marinade, seal it, turn it on, and it creates a vacuum. I mean, it kind of sucks the top in. And what happens, it forces the marinade into the muscle of the protein. And then it starts tumbling, so everything gets marinated evenly, and it's just the most amazing stuff. And that would be the item I chose here. And at Midtowner, we have just killer pancakes. And I'm a breakfast guy, and at lunch, fried chicken, which is kind of a homage to my grandmother, who made really good fried chicken. And my other grandmother actually made great pancakes, and her recipe is in several of my books and it's been a lot of my columns. So had really good food influences growing up. So those would be, I couldn't choose just one thing. I'd have to go restaurant by restaurant.
I was hoping for like just one singular thing.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry, I can't do it.
I understand it. Hey, the shrimp and grits here, by the way.
Yeah.
Superb.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Don't go anywhere. Audibles returns in a moment here on the Spirit Media Network. We hope you're enjoying Audibles with Jason Scarborough. Watch every full, unedited episode via our digital platforms. Download our free Roku TV channel simply by searching for Audibles on your Roku device. Look us up on our YouTube channel too under Spirit Media Network and hit subscribe. And enjoy episodes of Audibles along with our other original content. Bookmark our website at spiritmedianet.com and stay up to date on what's happening on the Spirit Media Network, where we're changing the game.
Our favorite venues, watching our favorite teams while tailgating with the best fans in the South. We're all back to full capacity this fall. That's why now is the time to book your stay for your favorite college football weekend at Mississippi's premier full-service bed and breakfast. Kay Tyler and the staff at Cart Barn Inn will meet every expectation of you, your family, and your friends. Call and book your reservation today at 662-983-7829 or log on to cartbarninn.com. Cart Barn Inn, cozy luxury in a brown paper bag.
This may not look like a typical farm, but our plants bloom in every corner of the state. From flowers to decorations, to fruits and vegetables, even homemade jellies and jams, we take pride in producing the best for you.
You may ask why we do this. Like my parents, we love what we do and plan to pass on our family business to future generations. It's our way of life, providing for our family and yours, the farm families of Mississippi.
The COVID vaccines are here.
Know the facts.
Get the shot.
End the pandemic.
The vaccines are proven safe
and effective.
Vaccine does not contain COVID.
Nor will it give you COVID.
Side effects are relatively minor and include
arm pain, fatigue, and low-grade fever.
The COVID-19 vaccine protects you
and the ones you love.
As healthcare workers, we're setting the example for our patients
and community.
This is your shot. Schedule your COVID-19 vaccine today.
Hey sports fans, this football season, MDOT wants to ensure you get to your game day destination safely. So before you hit the road to watch your favorite team, be sure to download the MDOT Traffic app. The MDOT Traffic app is free for both Apple and Android devices. And remember to drive smart on the way to the game. That means buckling up, obeying the speed limit, and avoiding distracted driving, especially when traveling in work zones. For more information, follow at Mississippi DOT on Facebook and Twitter.
So you touched on your sobriety earlier. That's really important to you to talk about. You've been very open about it.
Yeah.
For somebody that's watching this, maybe they're struggling. Maybe they just happen to be turning this on late at night, watching it online, whatever the case is. What would be your message to them?
Well, here's the thing with me, and I'll give you the short version of this thing, I started drinking beer, when I was 14. And by the time I was 21, I was probably drinking a case of beer and a fifth scotch a day, in addition to a lot of other things. And I ended up one night driving down 4th Street in Harrisburg, Mississippi at 2 o'clock in the morning with my lights off and 3 cop cars behind me, and got a DUI. And I was given the choice of go to jail or go to rehab. And I went to rehab as the lesser of two evils, not intending to, stop drinking or partying or anything like that. And one thing they told me at that rehab, because here's the thing, my earliest memory, if I go back all the way to my very first memory ever, I'm 5 years old, I'm laying in the bed, I had to go to bed early, my parents were having a cocktail party, and I could hear people laughing and having fun and kind of romanticize the ice tinkling and the glasses and the whole thing. And I just remember thinking, even at that early age, that's fun. That's how I'm going to have fun. So drinking was the culture. It was what I grew up with. My mom and all her friends, everybody drank. All my friends drank. That was going to be a part of my life. And all these problems and consequences I was having were just going to have to be worked around the drinking. And every time I drank, I didn't mess up or get into trouble, but every time I got in trouble and messed up, I had been drinking. So I had become an alcoholic. What they told me at this rehab center is that, Robert, you never have to drink again. And that was it sounds stupid, but that was a revelational saying that they told me. It's like, you know what? I didn't really believe that. I had never thought about a life without, what do you do? How do you have fun? I surely didn't know what to do. And they ended up sending me to a halfway house in Omaha, Nebraska. It was a bunch of I was 21, and it was with a bunch of other guys in their early 20s. And I remember getting there and asking the guys, because I'd been in this rehab place for about 9 weeks. I said, "What? We're out. What do we do? You gonna do something tonight?" And they said, "Yeah, we're going out." And I said, "Cool. What are we gonna do?" They said, "We're going skating." And I went, "Oh, this is exactly what I thought sobriety would be like." I'm 21 years old. I've been living in clubs and bars and just this hedonistic lifestyle. And now I'm going skating with a bunch of guys, But here's the crazy thing about it. I went skating because it was better than, this halfway house was in an old mortuary. So it's better than staying by myself in this mortuary at night. Went skating and I had a blast. And something hit me, some kind of spiritual awakening that evening on a skating rink in Omaha, Nebraska, and it hit me that it's not what you're doing, but it's who you're with and how you feel in here when you're doing it. And that's the first time I ever thought, well, maybe I can live a life without alcohol and drugs and all these other things, and so far I have. And all of these things I probably thought early on that I'm going to miss out on. I hadn't missed out on a thing. I have not missed a thing in life. And life has been much better in my instance because I hadn't been dealing with this demon, of alcoholism and drug addiction and stuff. And I was at a point to where really all I knew was pleasure, whether it was liquid pleasure, chemical pleasure, sexual pleasure, whatever it was, but it's just that. And that's about the peak where I can, but pleasure is fleeting. There's nothing deep about that. So I stopped drinking and doing the drugs, and I started experiencing happiness. And that was available to me. And then what I started doing, I started working a 12-step program and really working on my spirituality, relationship with God, and all of these things. And life got fuller, life got richer. And what I learned is let me go back. When I was a kid in church, like in my youth group, junior high, this was the early 70s, they would have these posters all up in our youth room. They were like black light posters. And they would have words like peace and joy and love and faith and all these things. And I remember looking at that and very cynical as a 13-year-old probably, going, I know what they're trying to do. They got these posters trying to make church look cool and make these words, peace, love, joy, make these look cool. These aren't cool. There's nothing cool. Those are, kind of weenie words. And so I went into this thinking that, but then, it's like the word joy was one of those things that I thought, that's one of those weenie words. But when I started experiencing some of that, then I wanted more of it. And so what joy to me is, I don't live in some perpetual state of joy and zen or anything like that, but it's available to me. Joy is happiness with peace and serenity thrown in. And if I don't stay sober, there's no peace and serenity, and there's certainly no happiness. There's just this fleeting pleasure kind of thing. And so that's what's worked for me. And what I would say to anyone, and I do say when I talk to kids or whoever I'm talking to, is that you don't have to drink. There are ways, your life doesn't have to be this way. There's a really good life out there. There's a fun life out there. You can succeed. I mean, I'm in a wine room. I own 4,000 bottles of wine. I've never tasted any of it. I haven't missed a thing. So I got sober to live life, not to run away from life. And I think I've been able to do that. Anything I've been able to accomplish has been because I've been clean and sober. At 21, I had resigned myself that I wasn't going to live to be 30. And the truth is, I wouldn't have made 25 at the way I was going. And I'm sitting here at 59, not because of anything I've done. I've probably been a bigger hindrance. It's by the grace of God and the 12-step program I mentioned and my friends in that program as well.
Final question. You lost your dad when you were 6. What do you think Dad would think about all this?
My mom tells me all the time that he'd be proud, and he was a business guy. He went to Vanderbilt and got his degree in business and got out and ran the family business there for a while. So I take her word for it. She always says he'd be proud, and I like to think that's the case.
I think he'd be proud.
Yeah,
I do too. Hey, thanks for doing this.
I'm happy to be here, man. Thanks for coming down.
I hope you'll have me back sometime.
Anytime.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week for another episode of Audibles with Jason Scarborough.